Hello, welcome back to Kickstart Your Health, a guide to sleeping better and feeling better now. I'm Dr. Gil Winkleman, and this is our last module in this series, and we have a lot to cover, and I want to get going. But before we get into the new stuff, I want to review what we've covered thus far. First of all, I wanted to just give a brief background of how I kind of came to what I came to, and um, because it didn't just happen overnight. I mean, this has been a long process of learning for me, and all of my background is sort of involved with it in different ways. So I first got my bachelor's degree in genetics from UC Berkeley, and while I was there and a little bit after, I was peripherally involved in Human Genome Project. Really learned a lot about how our genetics, how what we thought our genetics worked, isn't exactly how it happens. And one of the things I haven't really mentioned yet in any of this, but I do want to just throw out, is that we're not as hard-coded as a lot of the media makes us out to be. And when we first started Human Genome Project, they were expecting to find about 100,000 genes in the human body based on how complex we are and how diverse humanity is. And they found fewer than 25,000 genes in the human body, which is not a lot. And since that time, since the Human Genome Project started in the 80s, since then, what we've learned is it's not so much about what your genes are, it's about how they get turned on and off. And that is something we control. And one of the big ways that we control it is through our eating, through diet, and also through our emotions and our thinking. And so after I did Human Genome Project, I got involved in counseling psychology, and the form of psychology I did was around how our thoughts create our experience and understanding how feelings and thoughts are connected. And I mean, it plays right into our health. And so it's a really important part. Emotional health and mental health is a very important part of physical health. I also, when I was doing counseling, I worked with traumatic brain injury patients and also stroke patients, which is acquired brain injury, and learned a lot about sort of how what are seemingly mild head injuries actually can create a lot of damage in the future, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. After that, I went to medical school and became a naturopathic doctor. And while I was in school there, I had the honor to work with veterans with head injuries. And this was really sort of culminated a lot of the experiences that I've had. Uh, I would have people come in, and I still have people come in, by the way. I do some pro bono work through various agencies to work with veterans doing neurofeedback. But they don't come in saying, hey, I had a head injury. They come in with one of the following problems. They have anxiety, depression, sleep disturbances, headaches, post-traumatic stress symptoms. And all of these can be symptoms of head injuries. And the key thing about it, and we really still don't understand why this happens, but the symptoms don't show up right away. So you could have, for example, a concussion in January, and you may not really start having problems that you notice until October, which is which is a problem in many cases because you've forgotten about the January head injury. And so and I'll talk a little bit more about this, but that's what sort of creates this experience where doctors will just treat the one symptom. And you don't really have the whole picture of what's going on and why it's so important to look at the whole picture. So one of the things I talked about in the last module, or first module, excuse me, is how traditional treatment looking at individual symptoms doesn't really help in many cases. And so you really need to look, instead of treating individual symptoms alone, you need to look at the whole picture. So oftentimes people come to me, they've been given a prescription medication that may sometimes relieve the symptoms. Oftentimes it doesn't. You know, they say, well, I tried, I was depressed, I tried drug XYZ, PDQ. I mean, sometimes there's a long list of drugs that they tried or a combination, and it didn't help. And those drugs were really expensive, and you know, it was very frustrating for them. Some people got relief, but they just didn't want the side effect profile from the drugs. So, you know, the main thing is you can't treat symptom by symptom. You really need to look at the whole picture, the whole body, before and you can really address the underlying problem. And as I mentioned, you know, a lot of these drugs can be really, really expensive. And um, I had a patient come in complaining about their type 2 diabetic, and their they had to test their blood sugar every I want to say 4 to 8 times a day, roughly. And they had a glucometer, and the test strips weren't covered by their insurance plan, and I want to say they were about $200. They were about $2 a strip. So they were spending between $10 and $20 a day testing their blood sugar so they knew how much insulin to give themselves. And really what I would say is if you can address your health before you get there, because type 2 diabetes is preventable in most cases, you know, like 99% of cases it's preventable. Uh, you're gonna first of all be healthier. You're gonna feel better. You're gonna enjoy life more, but you're also gonna save a lot of money. So that's the main thing. So what do I mean by you want to really address the whole person, the whole health? You want to address the physical. That's really important, obviously. Um, but you also need to look at the nutrition aspect of things. As I mentioned with what I learned in genetics, there's a new field called epigenetics. What you eat actually changes how your DNA turns on and off. So you can change how your body's working by what you eat. And nutrition is so important. And I'll talk more about this again. But you know, a lot of health concerns in the United States right now and other parts of the world, uh, leading causes of death: heart disease, diabetes, stroke, cancer, in potentially can all be prevented with a healthy diet. So, I mean, it's really kind of sad to me to see people, you know, eating poorly and then wondering why they're ill at the same time. And that's not to blame the victim, but a lot of this we really can't control. And that's not to say that if you eat right, all of your problems are going to go away, because that isn't the reality either. But you need to create a good foundation before you can really do some of the stuff that we talk about, and nutrition is a big part of this. The other aspect, you know, and this plays into the epigenetics and how our DNA turns on and off, is environmental issues can also play a part of that. So sometimes toxic load goes way up based on where you live, and this goes back, by the way, to what you eat. So you know, the more you can eat good, healthy food, the less environmental exposure you have, and the better your body is able to deal with any environmental exposure it has as well. And then the other piece is you know, it's really important to look at the emotional component to health. I really think at this time it's really undervalued in mainstream American medical community, and you know, it definitely we're way better than when I started back in the 80s. You know, doctors would not really even recognize the psychological aspects of the physical health. But, you know, through the work of people like Candace Pert, who, by the way, if you're really interested in this, she wrote a book called Molecules of Emotion that talks about the biochemistry of emotions. So, so what are the keys to success, and what do we need to do to get better? Well, first of all, you really need to think holistically. You're way more, way more than the sum of your parts. And I think it's interesting, you know, this epigenetics piece with what you eat, what you breathe, what you think, what you experience changes how your DNA turns on and off. I mean, that we really just began to skim the surface of this, and uh, so many of my patients are surprised to hear, really, I can control my genetics. I mean, it's very liberating to understand that. And the other thing is you can't really treat disease, you really have to treat people. So, and that's kind of what I do in my practice. I don't think about the, the disease process so much as understanding what is happening in that person. So if someone comes in with migraines, for example, you know, there's an article on our blog, by the way, that I wrote, insight, www.insightstohealth.net, and you go to the blog, or you can search for migraines. Uh, I came up with 7 causes of migraine. I think it was 7 causes of migraine on that article, and each one is totally different. And unless you know what's happening in the person, treatment is totally different. And it was actually funny because I got an email from a dentist right after that. They said, "What about TMJ?" It's like, yeah, that can be a cause of migraines too. So that and that would be a different treatment. So you can't just treat the disease. You really need to treat the individual person. So the new approach to healthcare is really about how do you look at the whole person? How do you use holistic health to approach this, and how do you at home do this? So first, I really want to say that this is not meant to replace medical care altogether, and that's kind of the disclaimer. I mean, there are times you're going to need to go see the doctor, but what can you do to be a little more proactive in your health? So, you know, a lot of people take supplements in the United States. I just read a statistic today that 66% of adults between the ages of 15 and 64, I think it is, take supplements. Over 75% of seniors take supplements. But the thing is that they're not all better just by taking supplements. So it's not just enough to take supplements. You need to know what supplements you need for your body and your condition, what type of supplements to take, and when to take certain things and when not to take other things. So one of the big things that is that a lot of holistic doctors don't understand is how supplementation can actually mask symptoms. And so I have patients who come in with adrenal issues, and are really, they have energy to get through the day mostly, but they just feel like they're dragging. And what I find is if you take them off of B vitamins for even a month, and then they start to really drag and not feel so great, but then they rest, that they start feeling better. And then you can reinstate the B vitamins, and they're much more effective at that point. So that's an example of how sometimes supplements can really mask symptoms. So you at home, how do you know what to do? What do you know? What do you need to know for what you can treat and take supplements and do for yourself? So we're introducing today a new approach to taking care of yourself called Take Charge of My Health. We're really excited about this because it includes many of the aspects that we've talked about so far and goes into a lot more detail about what you need to do. So it starts with 5 videos that carefully explain what steps you need to take care of yourself. Plus, we're going to give you a cookbook in terms of how to eat and what to cook. And it's not meant to replace everything that you have, but it gives you a good starting point for doing much of this. We're also going to talk about what foods, what nutrients are missing from foods, just because of soil depletion, for example, and what things you might want to supplement with regardless of your diet and what diet plans you have. We also have a sleep book because sleep is so important and is an essential ingredient to health. And I can't tell you how many people say, "Oh, I sleep well," and as I prod and ask more questions, I learned that in fact they don't really sleep well. They're sleeping 5 hours a night. They wake up 3 times a night, and so forth. And that's not good sleep. So we're offering a special introductory offer for people who watch this video for the next couple of weeks for the Take Charge of My Health program. So specifically what's included? First of all, we have a finding relief video. So the first video, we want to go through and really understand what do we mean by optimal health? And many people come to me and they're like, yeah, I'm healthy. I don't know why I'm here. And as we go through sort of what their health assessment is like, they learn, hey, maybe I'm not as healthy as I think. You know, the just because the gas light on your car is not on does not mean that the tank is full. And our goal here is to not only help you turn the gas light off, but help you also take steps to fill the tank. So we offer an in-depth self-assessment, and this allows you to assess how your organ systems are working and what things that you can do at home for self-care around those problems. It helps you identify symptoms and understand what symptoms are important to not ignore, and it allows you to set your health goals. And like I said, there are times where you're going to need to get help from a healthcare professional. The second video is more about what can go wrong. And really, this video focuses more on the mental, emotional aspects of things. Because in the first video, we really, you kind of get an idea of what is going wrong physically from some of this stuff. But many of the imbalances that we have can be caused by nutritional deficits. And I also want to briefly talk about the effects of brain injury, as I did before, and again, when to get more help. When do you need to get a health professional involved? So the third video, we're going to talk about what it is for habits that you can do to help yourself. And these are things that you either do daily or weekly, usually it's daily, to build optimal health. So there's treatments involved, and we also want to help you learn about how to control your habits, how to set good habits, for example. But really, this is about making deposits into your wellness bank. So if you think of eating right, one meal, eating right, doesn't do a lot to help you feel healthy. But if you do that over time, it's like making small deposits into your savings account so if you do get sick, there's more strength there that if there's a problem, you have something to draw upon. And we also want to talk about 7 essential habits to develop that help you stay healthy long term. We're also going to give you some simple at-home tricks to keep you balanced and feeling great. So a lot of the stuff that we're covering here is things that we give to pretty much, I'm going to say 99% of the patients who come into our clinic. This is kind of the starting point. And so regardless of what their condition is, this is what they need to do to start feeling better. All right, so video 4, we're gonna build more on this, and we're gonna talk about the fuel that goes into your body. So we want to talk about food choices and how food choices affect you individually. Not every diet is right for every person, and so I want to go through the different diet options in this and kind of help you make the best choice based on who you are. We've had a couple of diets come in, and they're very meat based, and then of course you get a vegetarian coming in, and it's like, well, how do you make those changes? And so we part of that is not just about vegetarianism, but understanding there's so many different diets out there. There's GAPS, there's paleo, there's Atkins, there's specific carbohydrate, and there's gluten-free, casein-free. So what is it about those that help some people but not others? And we'll talk about that in this video. So, and then we want to talk also about how do you manage portions, like how much to eat. And it's really interesting. We've done a detox. We still do this detox program at Insights to Health, where it's a 21-day detox diet, and there's really some interesting things. We joke we've helped Portlanders lose over 20,000 pounds over the last 5 years. It's probably more than that now, but we've had a number of curious comments from people, but one of the most interesting one was people coming back and saying, God, I didn't realize, because you have to weigh your food in this. They were like, I had no idea I ate so much before I did this diet. Like, and they'd get these portions that were just ginormous portions before doing this, and they were, they kind of said, well, no wonder I gained weight. I was eating healthy, but I was eating way too much stuff. So we talk about this in that video as well. And finally, in number 5, we're going to track your progress. So some people might take the self-assessment at the beginning, and some people might take it at the end. Some people might take it both. But really, the question is what do you do with that information? So in the 5th video, we're going to talk about sort of what the answer key looks like, and we're going to talk about what steps you need to take for your individual situation. And this is where you'll learn what supplements to take for that particular condition. So for many people, by the way, who are watching this, you're going to get savings in supplement costs because you're not going to be overbuying supplements anymore. Just from watching this, you're going to learn, hey, I am taking way too many things and I am trying to do too much at once. So sometimes what we want to do is focus on one small situation, okay? Let's say sleep. You want to help the sleep first, not take anything else. And then once you do that, then you start feeling better. And that's another point, by the way. I mentioned the B vitamins before. I've had a number of people who were sleep deprived, taking B vitamins to keep them going through the day. And of course, they were taking their vitamins at night too, which kept them up, helped keep them up, right? So instead of taking them at night, they took them in the morning. And then they started sleeping better. And then they realized they didn't need that extra boost in the morning. So that's another piece about this. And finally, we want to go through, when it's time to get help and when to ask questions. So besides the 5 videos, I mentioned you get the Take Charge of My Health cookbook. And this is sort of to help you transition from your current diet to something else. And these are really easy to make recipes for all meals, and they're really good, actually. So, and then you can also adjust these recipes based on your personalized diet plan. So we're also going to include a shopping list grocery guide, an eat out guide, and a cheat sheet on what to eat. So, and you can see sort of the portion piece on this. So, a lot of people would look at this and go, God, this must be a lot of money because this is a big investment in my health, and I'm getting sort of a lot of information that if I went to the doctor and spent this much time with the doctor, it would be thousands of dollars. Well, this program is $297, and if you order by midnight, Friday, September 26th, we're offering it for half off. So you're getting a lot of information. You're getting the 4 videos, you're getting a health assessment survey that in one of the videos you're going to learn what does it mean, where am I in my health, and what supplements should I focus on first to help me stay healthy. That alone will potentially save you money in your supplement costs. You also get the cookbook, you get the shopping guide, you get the eat out guide. This is a great offer, and like I said, it is half off until Friday, September 26th. You can order it through Insights to Health website, but you can also go to takechargeofmyhealth.com, and that will help you take you to the page where you need to be to order it. I strongly would invite you to order Take Charge of My Health today. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you really enjoyed this video and look forward to talking to you on the next set.